Hello friends, welcome to the video. Today we are going to see the poem Prothalamion written by Edmund Spenser. Before we directly move to the poem, let's see who the author is. Edmund Spenser was born in the year 1552 and his birthplace is East Smithfield, which is a place in London. Edmund Spenser is also known as the poet's poet. Friends, please note that point because sometimes we may get a question like, who is known as the poet's poet? Fine? Yes. Let's move on. Spenser was a friend of Sir Philip Sidney. We all know that, right? We can say Spenser was a best friend of Sidney because Spenser even dedicated one of his great works to Sidney, and the work is The Shepherd's Calendar. Okay, fine. Moving on. Thomas Kidd and Thomas Lodge, the university wits. Don't you remember? Yeah. Thomas Kidd and Thomas Lodge were Spenser's schoolmates. Fine, yes. And this is a picture of Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser graduated Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts from Pembroke College, which is actually one of the 31 colleges that constitute the Cambridge University. Fine. So he graduated from Pembroke College. Spenser's pseudonym was Emerito. That means unworthy. And that point is very important. Please note it down. Fine? Yes. So pseudonym is Emerito. And Spenser died or passed away in the year 1599 and was buried in Poets' Corner, the famous Poets' Corner. Don't you remember? Yes. Buried in Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey. So this is the, quite a few details of our author. Fine. Now let's see a particular kind of stanza and which became so popular under the name of Edmund Spenser. Okay? Yes, let's see what that stanza is. The stanza is titled, or the name of the stanza is Spenserian stanza, because it became popular with the work of Spenser, and it is the fairy queen. Or we can say the stanza pattern used in the fairy queen is later came to be known as Spenserian stanza. This stanza is a 9-line stanza, and among those lines, the first 8 lines is in iambic pentameter, and the last line, the 9th line among that 9-line stanza is in iambic hexameter. Hexa, remember 6, okay, iambic hexameter, and that later came to be known as Alexandrian. Okay, yes. Fine. Moving on. So that's all about Spenserian stanza, and if we see the rhyme scheme of that stanza, we can say that it is AB AB BC BCC. Okay, so you can remember like this in a kind of pair: AB AB BC BCC. Okay, yes. Fine, that's all about the Spenserian stanza. Now let's see which are the famous works of our author Edmund Spenser. This is arranged in the chronological order. And the year of publishing is also given along with the title of the work. Fine? Yes, let's begin. The first work is The Shepherd's Calendar. I told you before, it is dedicated to whom? Yes, Spencer's best friend, Sir Philip Sidney. Okay, yes. And this work is actually a group of 12 eclogues. Okay, fine. So you have to remember that thing. And the next work is the best work of Edmund Spenser. And it is The Fairy Queen. It is known as a epic poem. And why I given 2 years is because actually in the year 15, that Fairy Queen is actually comprised of 6 books. And the first 3 books were published in the year 1590. And the rest 3 books, that is the 4th book, 5th book and 6th book. And these 3 books were published in the year 1596. That's why I have given 2 years. Okay, yes, just remember that point. And it is an epic poem written by Spenser, and it's the most popular poem written by Spenser, The Fairy Queen. And it is based on Arthurian legend. Okay, yes. Moving on, the third work is The Ruins of Time, and it is published in the year 1591. In the year 1591, we have 3 famous works written by Spenser, and they are The Ruins of Time, The Tears of the Muses, and Daphneida. Okay, these 3 works were published in same year, which is 1591. And moving on, the 6th work is Amoretti, and it is published in the year 1595. See, we have again 3 works, 3 popular works came in the same year or published in the same year, which is 1595. And those works are Amoretti, Colin Cloud's Come Home Again, and finally we have Epithalamion. So these 3 works came in or published in the same year, which is 1595. Then we have the 9th work, 9th popular work. It's not like a 9th work of Spenser, but most popular works. Okay, I'm just mentioning only the popular 10 works of Spenser. And the 9th work is Prothalamion, which is the poem we are going to discuss today. It was published in the year 1596. Okay, yes. And finally, we have A View of the Present State of Ireland. It was published in the year 1598. Sorry, okay, 1598. So we can say that it might be the last work of Spenser. Okay, fine. So, and the specialty of this work is this is a prose piece. Okay, prose work, and it is actually a dialogue. Actually, a dialogue between 2 Englishmen. Okay, though it speaks about about the state or the present state of Ireland, it's actually a dialogue between 2 Englishmen, and those people are actually Eudoxus and Irenaeus. Okay, those 2 persons. So it's a dialogue between Eudoxus and Irenaeus. Just remember that it's a prose piece. Okay, sometimes we may get a question like among the in the 4 works, which is the prose work of Spenser. So you have to remember that it is A View of the Present State of Ireland, which is published in the year 1598. So why I said is because just for the kind information of you about the author Spenser. Fine, moving on. Yes, and before we directly move to the poem mentioned in the HSST syllabus, let's see just a few details of the poem Epithalamion. Okay, yes. It is also a poem written by Spenser. Yeah, we just mentioned the name before. Epithalamion is a song that celebrates a wedding. Okay, so the word Epithalamion means it is a song, or we can say it's a poem that celebrates a wedding or a marriage. And here, this poem, the poem Epithalamion, celebrates Spenser, our author. Okay, remember Edmund Spenser. Edmund Spenser's marriage with Elizabeth Boyle. Okay, so this poem Epithalamion celebrates the marriage of Spenser and Elizabeth Boyle. Okay, and the famous refrain used in the Epithalamion in this poem is, "The woods shall to me answer and my echo ring." So just remember that refrain, because not just from the poem prescribed in the syllabus, we may get a question like this also, okay, which is the refrain used in Epithalamion. It's a work of Spenser. So just remember that refrain used in the Epithalamion is, the woods shall to me answer and my echo ring. Fine? Yes. Now let's move to the poem we are said, or we are prescribed to study. Okay, yes, which is Prothalamion. Yeah, the word Prothalamion is coined by Edmund Spenser. So we may get a question like, who coined the word Prothalamion? So we have to answer it is Spenser itself. Okay, yes, the word Prothalamion is coined by Edmund Spenser, and this word is derived from which word? Epithalamion. So Prothalamion is actually derived from Epithalamion. Remember, okay, Epithalamion is already it means a song of wedding. Okay, song of wedding. So Prothalamion is also have a meaning related to wedding. Let's see what is the meaning of this word. Prothalamion. We can split it into pro and thalamion. Pro means what? Pro before. Okay, and thalamion means bridal chamber. So we can say that it's a song that celebrates forthcoming wedding or upcoming wedding. So it is not about wedding, but before the situation, before the wedding. So we can say a song that celebrates forthcoming wedding or upcoming wedding, the wedding which is going to happen, okay, in the future. So that is Prothalamion. And also we have to remember that Prothalamion, the poem we are given, or the word we are suggested in the HSST syllabus, which is Prothalamion, it is actually the plural form of the singular word Prothalamium. M-I-U-M. M-I-U-M and M-I-O-N. See the spelling, okay? Singular and plural forms. It is the plural form is Prothalamion and singular is Prothalamium. Okay, M-I-U-M. Fine? Yes. So moving on. This is the it is the front sheet or the beginning sheet of the poem. Title sheet we can say. Yes. Now let's see the poem in detail. Prothalamion, published in the year 1596, and the full title of the poem is Prothalamion, or a spousal verse in honor of the double marriage of Lady Elizabeth and Lady Catherine Somerset. This is the full title of the poem Prothalamion. And this poem celebrates the marriage of Elizabeth Somerset and Catherine Somerset, who are the daughters of the Earl of Worcester. So you have to remember who is the dad of these girls? Earl of Worcester. Okay, yes, and it is these girls who are going to get married. And Elizabeth weds Sir Henry Gifford, and Catherine weds William Peter. Okay, so we have to remember the names of the grooms and the names of brides. Just remember once again Elizabeth and Catherine, whereas they wed Sir Henry Guilford and William Peter respectively. Fine? Yes. Both are daughters of Earl of Worcester. Yes. Prothalamion, the poem Prothalamion contains 180 lines in total. 180 lines. Okay, remember all these things. 180 lines. And it has 10 stanzas, or we can say this poem has 10 stanzas in total, and each stanza has 18 lines. So 18 into 10, that is equal to 180. So 180 lines in total, and 10 stanzas, 18 lines each. Fine? Yes. This particular poem is modeled after the Italian canzone or lyric poem. Okay, we have to remember that this particular poem is modeled after the Italian canzone, and or we can say it's a lyric poem. Okay, yes, Italian canzone. Then we can say that this poem is set in a pastoral atmosphere. Okay, yes, kind of like nature friendly village sites, like that. Okay, so the poem is set in a pastoral atmosphere. Okay, fine, moving on. Yes, now let's see the poem in detail. Let's begin with the first stanza. Okay. Yeah, and before we move to the poem, the summary of the poem, let me tell you, you have to go through the poem. You have to read or recite the poem, all the lines. Okay, 180 lines. Then only you will get a better idea, and you have to come back to the video and listen to the summary, or you can do in reverse. You can just hear the summary, and thereafter you can go and read the lines of the real poem. Fine? Yes. So, first stanza. So, here the poet, we can say the speaker, or speaker is probably the poet himself. Fine. So, we can say poet. The poet begins the first stanza, or begins the poem by describing a pleasant day, or describing a calm day, peaceful day, okay, and peaceful atmosphere. Here the poet says that sufferers, okay, sufferers, sufferers means west wind, okay, sufferers. So the poet says that sufferers actually cooling the beams of hot titans. Who are titans? Titans are, okay, hot titans means here it is sun only, okay, hot titan, okay, that is sun. So here what the poet says is, it's not a hot day, it's a pleasant day, because there is a slight breeze is there. Suffers means breeze or west wind, we can say. Okay, so there's a slight wind breezing, yeah, there's a slight breeze is there. The air is cool, not so hot, or but it's a sunny day, of course, but not so hot, because the sun rays or the beams of sun is actually cooled by the breeze, gentle breeze. So it's a cool and pleasant day. That's the mood of the situation. Okay, but then what he says is, but the mood of the poet or the speaker is not that good. The atmosphere and the environment is okay, fine, but mood of the poet is, or the speaker is not that good, because he's in a tension. Okay, he's in a tension and he feels so frustrated. He's feeling so hopeless, because the political scenario of the period is not that good. It's not favorable to the poet, or it's not favorable to the speaker. He's feeling so hopeless. Okay, damn shit kind of mentality. Yes, so that's the mood of the poet. He's so feeling so irritated, and that's why he goes for a walk along the banks of the river Thames. Okay, so he's just walking along the banks of river Thames to cool his mind along the beauty of the environment or beauty of nature. And also, by the end of the stanza, he describes a lot of beautiful scenes he sees or witness when he walks through the, along the banks of River Thames. There are a lot of beautiful flowers can be seen, lilies, and variety of flowers can be seen along the banks and meadows nearby. Okay, yes. So that's the mood and the nature of the first stanza. Let's see what he says in the second stanza. Here, poet or the speaker sees a group of nymphs. Okay, group of nymphs. So what he's actually, and he's in a state of tension, but he's just seeing things and just passing. Okay, so there he sees a group of nymphs, and what they are doing is actually they are actually collecting flowers. Okay, their hair, they are nymphs, and nymphs, and their hair is green in color, and they look like brides. Okay, they're so beautiful, they're so cute, charming, and they look like brides. And what they are doing is they are collecting flowers in baskets. Okay, baskets made of twigs. That is twig baskets or baskets, or it's the term used in the poem is flaskets, but it's actually baskets only. Okay, yeah. So they are collecting flowers in baskets made of twigs. And why they are collecting these flowers is because they are planning to decorate their grooms. Okay, their future husbands. They are going to decorate their grooms on their wedding day with these flowers, the collected flowers. Okay, yes. So he's the poet is, or the poet speaker is admiring the beauty of these nymphs in the stanza, in the second stanza. Moving on, in the third stanza, there the poet sees two swans in the river Lee. Lee is actually River Lee is we can say that it's a side river of River Thames, and now its spelling is Lea. The in the poem it is given as Lee. Okay, yeah, so maybe in those, maybe 400 years back it was like that, the spelling was like Lee, but now it is the River Lee, the spelling is Lea. That's why given in the bracket, you have to remember that. Okay, fine, moving on. Yes, so here in the third stanza, poet sees two swans swimming in the River Lee. They are whiter than the snow over the Pindus mountain range. Okay, we have the Himalayan mountain range, right? So, and we have this snow-capped mountain range. Yes, same thing. So the poet is saying that these swans, the color of the swans, the color of the feathers of the swan is as pure and as white. Okay, as white, not as white, more than white. Okay, the more than, or we can say whiter than the snow over Pindus mountain range. Okay, so that is that white, it's an extreme whiteness. That is what described in the third stanza about the color of the feathers of the swan. That beautiful. Okay, yes, as white as milk, like that. They are whiter than Zeus as swan. So what it is said that Zeus is actually, who is Zeus? Zeus is the god of sky. Okay, it's a Greek, in the Greek mythology. Zeus is the god, okay, extreme god, the god of the sky. What he did is he takes the form of a swan and he raped the princess Leda. Okay, that's the mythology, that's the myth around Zeus. Zeus, remember, Zeus is the god of sky, okay, ultimate god. Zeus is the god of sky, and he falls in love with Leda. So what he did is he takes the form of a swan and rapes the princess Leda. Okay, so that's about the myth around Zeus. And here the poet says that, okay, the swans he saw is whiter than the Zeus as swan. Okay, Zeus who takes the form of swan. So whiter than the Pindus mountain range, the snow over Pindus mountain range, and even whiter than Zeus as swan. Moving on, and poet also says that, okay, yeah, these swans, these two swans on the river will be as bright as sun on their wedding day. Okay, so because they are as pure and as white and as bright as a sun, that they will be as bright as sun on their wedding day. And you have to remember one thing, these two swans are not just bees, okay, or no, not just birds. They are actually those two girls, or those two daughters of whom? Earl of Worcester. Okay, remember, Earl of Worcester, I told you, right? Yes, Earl of Worcester. And those two daughters, name of those daughters, Elizabeth and Catherine. So here these two swans represent Elizabeth Somerset and Catherine Somerset. You have to remember that. Okay, so moving on, stanza 4. Here, the first two lines of the stanza are Ephsons, the nymphs, which now had flowers their fill, ran all in haste to see that silver brood. Sometimes we may ask that, by giving these two lines, and we may ask like, okay, from which poem these two lines are taken. So we have to remember the lines. It's a quite famous lines. Okay, so you have to just remember these lines. And what these lines say is, nymphs. Don't you remember the nymphs? Yes, who are collecting flowers? Yeah. So here the nymphs also see the swans. Not just the poet. Nymphs also see the swans swimming on the river. And they think that these two swans are actually mythological swans who drew the goddess Venus chariot. Okay, Venus chariot. Okay, there is two swans mentioned in the mythology who drew the goddess Venus chariot. Okay, yes. So the nymphs are thinking that those two swans swimming in the river are actually the mythological swans who drew the chariot of goddess Venus. And actually they are also thinking that these swans are actually not just mythological creatures or birds, but they are the angels themselves, okay, or the children of angels, because they are as pure and as white and everything, okay, they are just, they are goddesses themselves, or they are angels, or the children of angels. And even the nymphs are thinking or imagining that, oh, these swans might have born during the season of spring, because they look like in a mood of what mood of freshness, or they are in a refreshed mood, these swans, and they are just pleasantly swimming in water. So this nymphs are thinking or imagining that these swans might have born during the season of spring, okay, or the floral season, the season of blooming, okay, yes, the season of spring. So remember that point, okay. We might get a question like which is the season mentioned in the poem of as the birth time of swans. So it is the spring season, okay, yes. Moving on, in stanza 5, here we can see the nymphs throwing the flowers they collected into the river, on which the swans are swimming. So they they got they are actually admiring the swans very much, and they like we see the idols. When the fans see idols, what happens is like they become so what, they get involved in the scene, right? Like that the nymphs actually become kind of they feel like the daydreaming. They are that much admired, and they are that much involved in the scene, and they even unconsciously threw the collected flowers into the river, okay, that much involved in the scene. They are so admired, they admired the swans so much. They are kind of like a fans for the who witnessed their idols, the swans. That's the situation of nymphs, okay. And the river looks here comes the next point. And once they threw the flowers into the river, what happens is that particular river on which the swans were swimming, that river seems like the river Penius, okay, the river Penius in Greece, which flows or flowed through the Tembe Valley in Thessaly. So this that is a beautiful river. Okay, beautiful. This river which has beautiful sides and beautiful banks. So here actually, because the throwing of the flowers by nymphs, this particular river turned out to be a Penius. These are all imaginations, okay, not Penius river right now, but anyway, the river on which the swans are swimming, that river looked like the river Penius. Fine. And also, nymphs give flower crowns to swans. They had this flower in their hand, right? Yeah. So they made crowns and they gave the crowns to the swans, because these nymphs are considering these swans as idols. Okay. Yes. Nowadays, like, kind of fans doing to the idols. Yeah. That's kind of things are done by nymphs to the swans. Nymphs give the floral crowns to swans. And also one of the nymphs sings a wedding song for the swans as well, okay, and that particular song is given in the sixth stanza, and the first five lines are mentioned here, and the lines go like this. Ye gentle birds, the world's fair ornament, and heaven's glory, whom this happy hour doth lead unto your love's blissful bower. Joy may you have, and gentle heart's content of your love's compliment. These are the first five lines of the song sung by one of the nymphs. And among the, or within the song, the goddess Venus and her son Cupid are also mentioned. And you have to remember, goddess Venus is actually the goddess of love, and Cupid is the god of erotic love. Okay, yes. So these two goddess Venus and god Cupid are also mentioned within the song sung by one of the nymphs. And this song constitutes the sixth stanza. Moving on, in the seventh stanza, after listening to the song sung by one of the nymphs, other nymphs also echoed that song. For that, the swans can listen to the song. And also, by seeing the swans, other birds also admired the swans because that beautiful they are. Okay, so everyone around the swans got flattered, or they became so intoxicated with the beauty of the swans. That beautiful they are, or that cute they are, that charming they are. Okay, yes, swans are more beautiful than the other birds, as Cynthia is more beautiful than the stars. That's what said in the or mentioned in the poem. See, swans are more beautiful than the birds. That's we already know. That's why other birds, become so intoxicated with the beauty of swans because they are that beautiful. And swans are more beautiful than the birds, as there is a simile, remember, as Cynthia is more beautiful than the stars. Who is Cynthia? Cynthia is the moon goddess. Okay, that means as we can say swans are more beautiful than the other birds, as the moon is more beautiful than the stars. That is what is said. Okay, so swans are just like the moon goddess Cynthia. They are because they are that beautiful. So these things are mentioned in the seventh stanza. And moving on, in the eighth stanza, we can see that all these people come to London. Okay, or we can say they gathered in London. And there the poet says that we can see brick towers in that city, London. And there is a thing about these brick towers. These towers were once the headquarters of Knights Templar. Okay, but now these towers are just mere housings for law students studying over there. And yeah, so these brick towers can be seen in London, and near to the towers there is a place where an important person once lived. Okay, but we are not the poet is not mentioning the name of that person. He's just saying that there was once an important person lived near to that tower. And in the next stanza, the poet says that in that place where that important person lived, now lives a noble peer. Okay, yes, now a noble peer who is an aristocrat. Okay, an aristocrat is residing in that place where once an important person lived. And this noble peer is actually brought glory to England against Spain. That means he may be a soldier. Okay, he may be a soldier, and he fought in the war against Spain, and he won the war, and he brought glory to England. That means England won the war against Spain, and he was the chief of that war. That might be the reason the poet is mentioning like that. He brought glory to England. Okay, and the poet also says that the noble peer mentioned here is just like the Hercules. Okay, we know the Hercules, right? Yeah, so he's just like the Hercules, and due to this noble peer's talent in the war, Queen Elizabeth's glory spreads all over the earth, because that big was the war. And even that big war, he just simply won the war and brought glory to England. So because of his act, even the name of the Queen Elizabeth got spread all over the earth, all over the world. So he's such a famous person, and he is residing at a place near to the towers, the brick towers. And the final stanza, we are coming to the end of this poem. Okay, so in the final stanza, and that noble peer, okay, and the poet says that noble peer is just like the evening star Hesperus. Okay, so he's just like the evening star. Before that, he said that he is just like the Hercules, and now he say that the noble peer is just like the evening star Hesperus. And this noble peer came near to the river to see the swans along with a big crowd. Okay, yes, and within the crowd there are two knights. Now you have to remember, there are two knights who looked like Zeus' sons, Castor and Pollock. So there are two knights within the crowd who looks like Zeus' sons. Okay, and there is a mythology. Okay, in the mythology, we can say that Zeus' sons, Castor and Pollock, both became stars in later became stars in Gemini constellation. Okay, yes. And so these knights look like the sons of Zeus. That is what mentioned in the poem. And why they came is they're actually in love with the swans. And the knights and the swans will be getting married soon. So now you can imagine that who might be those two knights. Who may be they? Who may be they? They are the would-be husbands of Elizabeth Somerset and Catherine Somerset. Okay, yes, they are the grooms of Elizabeth and Catherine. Yes, so we are said, or we are told that the knights will be marrying the swans soon. Okay, yes, and that's how the poem ends, or that's how the poem Prothalamion ends. And dear friends, we will be discussing the themes, the poetic devices, and all such things in the next video, which is the part B, because it's already this video is a very lengthy one. So including such things is also will be a Herculean task for me. So we can discuss such things in the next video, because it's a poem, it's a quite big poem. Okay, 180 lines. It's literally quite a big poem. So we took took nearly 1 hour for this class. So it's not good that we mention the poetic devices and all such things along with this video. So we will be discussing that such device and all these things in the next video, and we can quickly see just a handful of questions which surrounds around the class we had today. Okay, yes, let's see the questions. Question number 1. What is the rhyme scheme of Spenserian stanza? Before we begin the class, I already mentioned the rhyme scheme of Spenserian stanza and a few details about the stanza. Don't you remember? Yes. Then the question is, what is the rhyme scheme of Spenserian stanza? What may be the rhyme scheme? Do you remember? Yes, right answer. The rhyme scheme is AB, AB, BC, BCC. Okay, you have to remember. We may get a question like that in the exam. And the next question is, which work celebrates the marriage of the author Spenser and Elizabeth Boyle? You have to remember this. Okay, is it Prothalamion? No. Then which may be the work? Yeah, it is Epithalamion. I have already mentioned the poem and a few details about the poem in the very beginning of the video. Okay, yes. So the poem that celebrates the marriage of Spenser and Elizabeth Boyle is nothing but Epithalamion. You have to remember that. It's not Prothalamion, but it is Epithalamion. Don't get confused with the titles. Yes. And the final question of the section is, when was the marriage of the daughters of Edward Somerset occur? When was the marriage of the daughters of Edward Somerset occur? I haven't mentioned that date, but you have to remember it is 8th November 1596. The poem is written in the year 1596, and soon after the poem has written, the marriage occurs. It is in the it is on 8th of November. 8th of November. Okay, 8th November 1596. You have to remember that date. Maybe we'll be getting a question like that. So you have to remember the date 8th November 1596. Okay, fine, dear friends. That's all about the summary and the other details of the author. So I think we can wind up the class here, and we'll be discussing the other stuffs around the poem in the next video. So till then, bye bye. Thank you.